Wargroove series. Wargroove doesn't go for the character-building way. It focuses on strategic difficulty. A tiny bit of carelessness can lead to failure, especially in some side quests. But it is not a hard one to play. Terrain in levels is a key thing. It not only has defense value, but also affects mobility. Buildings become the focus of contention for both sides. They can accumulate resources, produce soldiers, and even restore health. To occupy a building, you need a unit with an occupation function to occupy a neutral building. Enemy buildings need to be destroyed and turned into a neutral state before they can be occupied. The concept of unit restraint in the game is also important. Attacking the corresponding enemy unit with an advantageous unit makes it easier to win. Each hero has exclusive skills. Mersha has a large-scale healing skill. Caesar the Warhound can let nearby troops act again. Laguna has a rare AoE skill with a safe landing point. Although there are diverse units like land, sea, and air in the game, there's no substantial difference in units of each race. Although heroes have different combat skills, their attributes and ordinary attack methods are the same. This is a small drawback of the game, but overall, it's still super fun and highly recommended. Into the Breach, mech warriors are all different shapes, so much detail there. War scenes in the game are carefully designed. For example, in battles with alien insects, mech movements, insect forms, and battlefield environment are all very vivid. Color matching is harmonious, not too bright and dazzling nor too dim. Pixelated picture can better reflect content meticulousness and give players unique visual experience. In the game, defense is more important than offense. At the start of each battle, players need to deploy defensive facilities around civilian buildings to prevent refreshed insects. Every map is randomly generated. We need to arrange attack order reasonably. Players must lay out battlefield at specific time and specific environment. Fully utilize mech performance and environment to preview tactics. Not only attack enemy, but also avoid enemies' attack by evasion and prediction. Players can analyze enemies in each battle, including their weaknesses, attack habits, and battlefield environment layout. Strategic nature of game is also reflected in upgrade and combination of mechs, a game that combines turn-based strategy, science fiction, and roguelike. Do not wait, go for it. Kingdom 2 Crowns. In Kingdom 2 Crowns, you play as a monarch. Start from a tiny village and plan and lay out things well. Build stuff like houses, factories, and farmland as infrastructure to meet people's needs and grow the economy. At the same time, recruit heroes and build an army to fend off enemy attacks. There are mounts with their own cool features. Griffins are fast and have great endurance. They can fan and stun monsters. Unicorns don't run for long, but they can eat and make gold coin. You can team up with a friend to run the kingdom together and build a prosperous one. The game has several DLCs, and there's the upcoming Call of Olympus, set in the fantasy world of ancient Greece and its myths. Can't wait to play it. Curious Expedition Adventure series. There are randomly generated events in the game, like volcanic eruptions, floods rising, and black hole collapses. You can also randomly find treasures or swap for super valuable items with the natives. In the workshop, there are sorts of mods, like the Curious Expedition, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure mod, and Weapons mod, and more. The Curious Expedition 2 is way better than the first one. Graphics are nicer, and the story is richer. The core of the game is finding your way to survive in a random process. You gotta pick the right team members and face all kinds of random events and enemies. You deal with them by the dice rolling mechanism. Luck also matters a bit. Characters have different abilities, with pros and cons. This series of games feels like a board game with full of exploration elements. Unlike those popular indie roguelike games in recent years, the Curious Expedition is more like a strategic board game, which makes it so unique. Hero's Hour. For the gameplay, it's a lot like Heroes of Might and Magic 3 in many ways. For example, at the start, players get a hero and a castle. Build up the castle. Control the hero to fight in the wild, and build an army until all the enemy forces on the map are wiped out. It copies the 4 resources of Heroes of Might and Magic 3 perfectly: gold coins, crystals, mercury, and sulfur. Resources can be picked up on the map or got by occupying squares for income. Hero's Hour also has a bunch of cool new stuff, like the skill design is bold and unique. There's no limit on the types of troops you can lead, but there's a limit on the number of troops on the battlefield. It has 11 big factions, 22 hero classes, 50 common hero skills, and more. This gives players a ton of freedom. The most awesome thing about Hero's Hour is its real-time combat. Players can enter fully automatic combat after setting up their troops. Just control the hero to use skills and magic. Watching your soldiers beat the enemy bit by bit is just so great. Papers, Please. The game is set in the fictional, autocratic, and highly corrupt country of Arstotzka in the 1980s. Players play the role of border inspectors and are responsible for checking the documents of inbound personnel, whether they are smuggling or carrying prohibited items. As the game progresses, the requirements keep changing, which increases the difficulty of your work. For example, after newspapers report that outsiders are taking local jobs, the requirement to check work permits will be added. When there is a terrorist attack, physical examinations will be conducted. There are also unexpected events in the game, such as tasks of mysterious organizations and the appearance of wanted criminals. Players need to make decisions according to different situations. There are multiple endings and side stories in the game. Your decisions will affect the fate of the character and his family. Accepting bribes may improve the lives of family members, but there are also risks. Refusing some people's entry requests may lead to their facing death, and these decisions will lead to different consequences. Loop Hero. Each time you start the game, the world seems the same, but even small differences in card drops and terrain can make the gaming experience different. You play as a warrior stuck in a chaotic space. The system makes a circular map at random. Your character starts from the camp and goes around in a clockwise or counterclockwise direction. When the game is paused, you can put down building and terrain modules. These modules will bring out new monsters or give construction resources. Everything in the game has an interactive way. When you place cards, you gotta make a good strategy to balance survival ability and combat. The game has two playstyles, adventure and planning. You can switch between them with one click, and there's lots of text and dialogue in the game. When you see the world's ecological structure in front of you and watch the world, you may produce all kinds of stuff. Arco. Players take on the role of a native of South America, traversing the vast expanse of the land. From the different perspectives of four main characters, they wage a revenge battle against their sworn enemy called Red Company. While battling Red Company, they must face soldiers from different countries, fend off greedy colonizers, and slay terrifying monsters. Arco has a unique, synchronous turn-based combat system. In this system, the enemy will act at the same time right after players give commands like moving and attacking. Players need to predict the enemy's moves first and decide what the character does within the limits of the limited Magia action resources. Using skills to attack in battle will consume Magia action points, but players can manage recovery by doing things like moving, standing still, or using recovery plants and other stuff on the level. It is so much fun to plan the strategies. Door Kicker's Action Squad. The game has 5 playable characters: the attacker who can handle all kinds of assault rifles like a pro, the breacher who wields shotguns, the shield man uses a shield and a pistol, the scout uses silent weapons and can open doors without making a sound, Agent Fergie uses a pistol and is super flexible, able to do tactical roles. Each character has its own unique way of playing and upgrade options. There are 4 main mission goals: rescuing hostages, taking out enemies, defusing bombs, and arresting targets. You gotta have head-on gunfights with the enemies, but you'll also get some time to react and attack the enemies or use special effects to slow down the enemies. For example, when you break down a door, you can kick and stun the enemy behind the door for a short while. Realistic reloading sound, plus the shooting feel, including the recoil system. They are really well done and give you a bit of that FPS feel. The game also has a unique built-in strategic ability system. You need to know the recoil and reloading time of weapons, use distance and cover, and use your strategic abilities to decide when you need a medkit or equipment, or figure out if your teammates are worth saving. Crypt of the NecroDancer. This game is a perfect blend of music rhythm and roguelike maze. Players gotta move and beat enemies along with the music's beat. There's a beating heart at the bottom of the screen keeping the beat. The character can move or attack only when players hit on the beat point. Monsters in the game have their unique movement pattern. Players have to figure out their dance steps. There are stone statues that keep doing the shoulder shaking dance, or screaming ghosts that can make you unable to hear music. And there are all sorts of cool and interesting items for players to use, like the long whip that's a must-have for archaeologists, the Giant Rune, or the Cursed Palm. Players can also import their own favorite music. Dancing to the super catchy original sound by Danny Baranowski lets players enjoy the dynamic music rhythm in the game. The randomly generated dungeons make every playthrough full of fun and excitement. Thank you so much for going through these games with us. Let us know if there are any other games you recommend for this list. Subscribe and see you next time.